You could be doing absolutely everything right for your dog. The premium food the regular vet visits, the overflowing toy bin, the long evening walks. Yet your dog might still be searching for something you haven't given them yet. These are incredibly subtle gestures, actions so small they take less than 5 seconds each to perform. However, your dog's brain and body respond to these micro-movements in ways that science is only just beginning to accurately measure. The chances are exceptionally high that you are walking right past most of these hidden opportunities every single day. Let's explore the silent language of trust. Number 1, what you are saying before you ever open your mouth. You just walk through the front door. Your dog is across the living room, sitting still, simply watching your approach. You have not said a single word yet. You have not reached out to pet them, but your dog is already having a profound biological reaction to something about you. Most dog parents have absolutely no idea what is happening in this exact fraction of a second, but your dog is meticulously reading your body language. They are analyzing exactly how fast you are moving across the floor, whether the muscles in your shoulders are tight and elevated or loose and relaxed, and whether your footsteps are heavy and abrupt or soft and rhythmic. Based entirely on that visual data, they are instantly adjusting their own central nervous system to match what they detect. Dogs evolved from highly social pack hunters who relied heavily on nonverbal communication to survive coordinate hunts and maintain pack harmony. Because they live in a world of bipedal humans, they have become evolutionary masters at reading human posture, gait, and physical tension from a significant distance. That ancient neurological wiring is constantly active. Throughout the day, your dog is scanning the way you carry your physical mass and processing it as critical information about whether the immediate environment feels stable and secure. If you walk into the house stiff-rushed and holding your breath, your dog processes that as a direct signal of an environmental threat. Their own heart rate will elevate, and they may choose to stay exactly where they are or even move further away into a different room. If you walk in slowly with your shoulders dropped, taking fluid and relaxed steps, they are far more likely to approach you with a loose, wagging body. In canine behavioral science, these are recognized as distance-decreasing versus distance-increasing physical signals. Dogs naturally gravitate toward calm, slow-moving physical presences and instinctively pull away from fast-tense, unpredictable ones. This biological reality completely explains why some people seem to attract nervous dogs effortlessly, while others cannot convince a dog to come near them, even while holding a handful of high-value treats. The beautiful part is that this gesture requires almost no physical effort on your part at all. When you see your dog, simply pause for a single second. Physically drop your shoulders away from your ears. Take a slow breath to regulate your own heart rate and let your skeletal posture settle before you reach out your hand or speak their name. That physical shift takes roughly 2 seconds to execute, but your dog's autonomic nervous system recognizes and responds to it before conscious thought even kicks in. You can actually test this biological phenomenon yourself. Over the next week, closely observe how your dog reacts to your physical presence at different times of the day. Notice how they approach you early in the morning when you are still half asleep, your muscles are relaxed, and you are moving slowly through the kitchen. Contrast that with the evening when you are rushing through the house tense from a long workday, moving with sharp, rapid gestures. Watch whether they approach with a soft, curving body in one situation and stay back with a stiff posture in the other. Once you physically see this pattern of cause and effect, you will never be able to unsee it. This is exactly why the same dog can react completely differently to the exact same person depending on the day. You arrive home physically relaxed on a Saturday afternoon, and your dog eagerly meets you at the door. You arrive home physically wound up and tense, and they remain quietly on the dog bed. But there is one specific area of your dog's anatomy where even a brief, calculated physical touch completely alters what is happening inside their bloodstream and it goes far beyond providing simple physical comfort. Number 2, the 5 seconds behind the ears. Walk into a room where your dog is resting peacefully. Reach down, apply a gentle massaging scratch directly behind one ear, and then simply keep walking. That physical interaction lasted maybe 3 or 4 seconds, but inside your dog's body, a massive neurochemical shift has just occurred. A dog's ear is an incredibly complex anatomical structure controlled by over a dozen individual muscles, which is why they can pivot them like satellite dishes to capture sounds from multiple directions simultaneously. The skin and tissue directly at the base of the ears are densely packed with highly sensitive nerve endings. These nerve branches feed directly into the vagus nerve, which is the primary control center for the parasympathetic nervous system, the part of the body responsible for rest and digestion. When gentle rhythmic pressure is applied to this specific anatomical zone, the dog's brain immediately releases endorphins. These are natural internal chemical painkillers that rapidly reduce biological stress and flood the animal with a deep, profound sense of physiological calm. Furthermore, the area behind and around a dog's ears contains specialized sebaceous glands. When you massage that area, you are actively helping to blend your unique physical scent profile with theirs. In canine social structures, a shared communal scent is the ultimate biological definition of belonging and safety. A comprehensive study published in Applied Animal Behavior Science analyzed how specific types of physical contact between dogs and their humans affect the release of oxytocin, the primary hormone strictly linked to trust, maternal bonding, and social cohesion. The researchers discovered that blood oxytocin levels spike significantly in both the dog and the human during calm, highly targeted physical touch, but there was a massive caveat. This chemical spike only occurred when the dog was not forced restrained or overwhelmed by the interaction. Dogs who initiated the physical contact on their own biological terms by resting their chin on a knee or softly nudging a human hand with their nose exhibited the most dramatic hormonal response. The longer the gentle localized contact lasted, the higher the chemical levels climbed. Dogs with naturally anxious or avoidant temperaments showed almost zero chemical change if the touch was forced upon them. Keep that specific biological detail in mind, because it is the key to rebuilding fractured trust. There is a well-documented case from a canine rehabilitation specialist detailing a severely traumatized rescue dog who had been terrified of human hands for over a year. The breakthrough did not come from massive hugs or forced petting. It came when the owner began simply placing a single unmoving finger gently behind the dog's ear for exactly 3 seconds every morning while the dog ate from a bowl. Over the course of several weeks, the dog began physically pivoting its head to lean the weight of its skull directly into that single finger before the owner even fully reached out. That tiny, highly predictable, repeated physical gesture became the absolute turning point in repairing a shattered nervous system. So here is a highly specific physical action you can implement today. The next time you walk past your dog and their body language is completely loose and relaxed, place just 2 fingers gently at the very base of one ear. Apply a light circular pressure for exactly 3 seconds. Do not commit to a full, overwhelming petting session. Do not lean your body weight over them. Just execute a brief, highly targeted touch and immediately move on. Over time, pay close attention to whether your dog begins actively positioning their head and neck to make that specific anatomical contact easier for you to achieve. That specific oxytocin finding from the behavioral study naturally raises a vital question about canine psychology. If physical touch works best when the animal initiates it, what happens to their neurochemistry when you completely flip the dynamic and simply allow them to close the final distance? Number 3, the profound pause before the touch. When your dog begins walking toward you, your immediate human instinct is to reach your hand down, lean your torso forward, or immediately begin patting their head. But you must understand how a dog's visual cortex processes that movement. To a canine, a human hand descending rapidly from above their eye line can feel like immense spatial pressure, mimicking the trajectory of a physical strike from a larger predator. This holds true even if the dog trusts you completely. Their central nervous system still heavily carries the hardwired reflexes of an ancestral animal that constantly had to decide, in a fraction of a millisecond, whether to engage in a fight or flee for survival. A sudden descending movement from above instantly triggers that sympathetic nervous system before the rational thinking part of their frontal lobe can catch up and recognize you as a friend. So you must alter your physical approach. When your dog begins moving toward you, freeze. Hold your hands completely still against your sides. Let them dictate the pace and close the entire physical distance. Let them be the one to press their shoulder against your shin bump, their wet nose into your palm, or simply choose to sit heavily across your feet. Let the dog be the sole author of the physical interaction. Recall the oxytocin study regarding autonomous choice. The dogs that exhibited the most massive hormonal bonding response were the exact same dogs who were allowed to choose to make contact themselves. Dogs who were approached rapidly or grabbed first did not experience the same biochemical reward. The physical act of closing the spatial gap on their own biological terms is exactly what triggers the brain's bonding sequence. If you take that autonomy away by rushing the interaction, the chemical reward instantly plummets. Canine behavior experts consistently point to this specific physical pause as one of the most highly effective trust-building mechanics available to a human. When you hold your body completely still and allow the dog to physically decide whether or not to engage, it causes an immediate drop in their circulating stress hormones, because the physical outcome of the interaction is entirely within their own control. When your dog structurally realizes that approaching your physical space always feels predictable and safe, because you never rush or grab at them, their brain learns to seek that contact much more frequently. This builds a compounding pattern of trust. Dogs form behavioral expectations based entirely on repeated physical experiences. If the established pattern is that they walk toward their human, and a large hand immediately swoops down at their face, they quickly learn to hesitate, duck, or avoid the approach altogether. But if the established physical pattern is that they approach and absolutely nothing happens, until they physically initiate the contact, they learn to approach with zero muscular tension. Over a period of weeks, that single behavioral difference entirely reshapes the neurological architecture of the relationship. Tonight, when your dog starts moving in your direction, consciously resist your primate urge to reach out. Keep your hands anchored. Wait until you feel their physical weight press against you before you respond with a gentle, slow touch. Beyond touch, there is an entirely invisible way to alter your dog's biology, using only your respiratory system. Number 4. The power of the biological deep exhale. Dogs are highly olfactory creatures, but they are equally attuned to the auditory and physical rhythms of the mammals they live with. Your dog is constantly subconsciously monitoring your respiratory rate. In the complex, nonverbal language of canines, a deep, heavy sigh is a highly specific physical cue. When a dog circles their bed, drops their weight onto the floor, and lets out a long, vibrating exhale through their nose, it is a biological reset button. That sound physically signals to the rest of the pack that the perimeter is secure. The threat level is zero, and the nervous system is officially transitioning from active alertness into deep rest. Because your dog observes you as the leader of their immediate environment, your respiratory rate dictates the baseline anxiety of the entire room. If you are breathing shallowly and rapidly into your upper chest, your dog's amygdala registers that you are preparing for physical action, and they will mirror that tension by keeping their head elevated and their muscles toned. However, you can actively hack this biological feedback loop to induce calm. When you finally sit down on the couch at the end of the day, do not just casually begin scrolling on your phone. Look softly in your dog's general direction, without staring directly into their eyes. Take a massive deep breath all the way into your diaphragm and release it in a long, slow, audible sigh. You are actively mimicking the canine biological signal for complete environmental safety. If you observe your dog closely when you execute this deep exhale, you will witness physiological co-regulation in real time. Within moments of hearing your heavy sigh, your dog will often physically drop their own head, let out a mirroring sigh of their own, and allow their skeletal muscles to completely soften against the floor. You have just used a 2-second respiratory adjustment to chemically shift their brain from an active beta wave state into a relaxed alpha wave state. It requires zero physical contact, yet it deeply reinforces their primal trust in your leadership. Try this specific respiratory exercise the next time your dog is pacing the living room and watch how quickly their physical body responds to your biological cue. Finally, we must address the actual geometry of how you move through a room. Number 5. The calculated sideways approach. In the natural ecology of a canine, a direct straight-line approach accompanied by unbroken forward-facing eye contact is the absolute definition of a physical challenge. It is how predators approach prey, and it is how rival dogs initiate a physical confrontation. Yet as humans, our natural bipedal greeting involves walking directly towards someone, squaring our shoulders and looking them right in the eyes. When you apply this human geometry to a dog, especially one that is resting, eating, or feeling slightly unsure, you are inadvertently applying massive spatial pressure to their nervous system. To instantly communicate absolute safety and deference in canine body language, you only need to alter your physical geometry by a few degrees. When you need to approach your dog to clip on a leash, offer a bowl of food, or simply say, "Hello," do not walk in a perfectly straight line toward their face. Instead, walk in a slight subtle arc. As you close the distance, physically pivot your hips and your shoulders so you are standing at a 45-degree angle to their body, rather than squaring off face to face. Lower your physical center of gravity by bending your knees slightly and avert your direct gaze to look softly at their shoulder or paws instead of locking onto their eyes. This specific angular movement is known in behavioral science as a calming signal. It takes exactly 2 seconds to pivot your body sideways, but it completely changes how your dog's brain processes your physical approach. By presenting the side of your body, you are biologically proving that you are not preparing to launch a frontal attack. You are intentionally making your physical form appear smaller, less direct, and entirely non-threatening. Dogs instantly recognize this spatial courtesy. You will physically see their defensive posture melt. Their ears will soften, their tail will adopt a slow sweeping wag rather than a stiff upright flag, and they will likely close the final few inches of distance themselves because you have removed all the biological pressure from the interaction. Mastering these 5 incredibly brief, highly physical behavioral cues completely bridges the evolutionary gap between humans and dogs. You are no longer just providing them with food and shelter. You are actively speaking their native biological language. You are utilizing the precise mechanics of posture, respiratory rhythm, spatial geometry, and targeted neurochemical touch to prove that you are their ultimate physical sanctuary. The next time you walk into a room, remember that your dog is reading the subtle biology of your presence before you ever say a word. Take a breath, drop your shoulders, and watch how their entire physical world relaxes just because you are there. I would absolutely love to hear about the incredible dog who watches your every move. Drop down into the comments right now and tell me your dog's name.